What's up? Welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here, reacting to the news out of Star Wars Celebration 2023 that we're getting three new Star Wars movies. Stop me if you heard this before, but Lucasfilm announced more Star Wars movies, although I have a feeling that these are more real projects than some of the past announcements. I'm going to get into all that. So there's a lot to really parse here. So at Star Wars Celebration 2023 in Europe, a lot came out at the Lucasfilm panel, and the big headline is these three new movies. So just to hit it real quick, and we'll just dive into all of these. So the three movies are a film from James Mangold about the dawn of the Jedi. This would be the earliest period in the Star Wars timeline that's existed in Legends or now in canon. James Mangold, of course, great director. Ford vs. Ferrari is a banger, but also familiar with Lucasfilm because he just directed Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Indiana Jones 5, coming out this summer. Pretty telling hire that Lucasfilm grabbed someone who's an A-lister, a very in-demand director, very capable director, but also someone with blockbuster experience and also experience with Lucasfilm. Think about Tony Gilroy getting to make Andor because Lucasfilm was comfortable with him after he saved Rogue One for them. Feel familiar vibes, and I think it's a good thing to feel good about, as a Star Wars fan, because Lucasfilm will let James Mangold cook, and also this is a time frame that is untapped potential and is less constrained by, the Skywalker saga, for example. So that's an exciting thing for sure. The other film, or second film of the three, would be Dave Filoni directing a live-action Star Wars movie for the first time. Of course, Dave Filoni coming up with Star Wars: The Clone Wars, going into live action, helping shepherd the Mandalorian, in the Book of Boba Fett and all that to the front for Disney Plus. He's going to conclude the Mandalorian story in film form. Uh, Pretty exciting. I'm not shocked about this. I think this is a pretty smart idea, honestly, to really capitalize on the Mandalorian story, which has been the most consistent uh, through line in terms of serialized Star Wars storytelling we've got in the last few years. Star Wars has been running on TV as the movies have not launched since Rise of Skywalker came out, 3.5 years ago at this point. Having the Mandalorian wrap up on the big screen, I think, is really exciting. That's really cool. Also, it's a great look for Lucasfilm to give Dave Filoni this job. He's definitely earned it. It's really exciting and I think really just and really cool. It's not a surprise that the Mandalorian will be coming to an end at some point, and I think this is a really cool way to build people up and build audience anticipation for a journey they've been on. At the Star Wars TV screens, bringing that to the movies. I think this is really cool. And then the third film would be a movie we've known about. We just didn't really know what it was about. This would be the movie that Damon Lindelof recently left, and Stephen Knight was recently brought on to write, being directed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, who directed Miss Marvel for Disney, among other things. This film is, in fact, a sequel to the Star Wars sequel trilogy. This is a sequel to, at least timeline, sequence-wise, a sequel to Rise of Skywalker. Rey is back. Daisy Ridley is back. They brought her out at Star Wars Celebration. They say this is going to take place, several years after Rise of Skywalker as Rey rebuilds the Jedi Order, the new Jedi Order. That's really cool. I think there's a lot of, I think just kind of, I don't want to say resentment, but there's a lot of just general angst about how the sequel trilogy went, whether you were pro Last Jedi, you were anti Last Jedi. I think everyone kind of came to agreement that no matter what side of the coin you were on, the lack of a coherent plan really detracted from the satisfaction that you get from watching that trilogy in full. A new movie with Rey, and perhaps some other familiar faces as well, that wouldn't shock me either. A new movie with Rey can at least iron out some of those gripes many of us have and make us feel better about where that Star Wars timeline was and set us up for future success. I also would not be shocked if Grogu, Baby Yoda, our guy from The Mandalorian, would not be shocked if we saw Grogu, who would be older in this part of the timeline. I would not be shocked to see Grogu meet up with Rey. In fact, I would bank on that. And that would be really exciting, I think, for fans, and almost like a get out of jail free card for Lucasfilm to use the overwhelming popularity of Grogu to kind of rehabilitate the sequel trilogy in terms of the broad sense. Obviously, there's plenty of things that I still like about the sequel trilogy, and I like Daisy Ridley a lot. I think she's really good as Rey. the issues with the film has nothing to do with her. And using Grogu to kind of get people back, I think would be really smart. Whether that happens in the first movie with Rey or they make subsequent ones, who can say? I think it is notable that you have three Star Wars movies announced at three different parts in the timeline. It's not a traditional trilogy announcement. That is interesting. It's also kind of in line with how Lucasfilm has been moving, as best we've known. They've been taking pitches, working on stuff, trying to make good ideas. And, we thought the Patty Jenkins Rogue Squadron movie was going to be an example of this. Obviously, that fell through. The Kevin Feige produced film is not happening. No word of the Taika Waititi film at all at Celebration. You have to imagine that has been backburner now as well. Of course, the Ryan Johnson trilogy. They keep saying all the right things, but if that is to happen, it's still legions of time in the future because Ryan Johnson's attached contractually to Netflix and Knives Out franchise for a little bit still. So this is where we're at for now. And I think you have a safe choice in culminating with The Mandalorian. You have a logical, kind of smart choice for the long term future, which would be using Rey and continuing that like forward momentum of like your Star Wars storytelling timeline. And then you have, kind of the out there inspired choice, which would be doing something in basically a completely untapped sandbox, which is the Dawn of the Jedi film from Mangold. Uh, it's not dissimilar to how they're moving on TV as well. The Acolyte coming out in 2024 from Leslie Headland, set in the High Republic era, kind of similar to the Dawn of Jedi approach in that it's very much unfamiliar to most people, and thus there's a lot of room for new storytelling approaches. So I feel good about these announcements. Obviously, we need to wait and see. We need to make sure that these movies happen again. Like Lucasfilm has gone through so many directors, gone through so many projects. Uh, we got to see something get done. You can probably guess when these movies are going to start to come out because they're probably, I would assume, alternate the release years between these Star Wars movies and the upcoming Avatar sequels. They would not release both these movies, at the same time. Certainly not both in the same December window that they seem to like to release in. So it's going to be a minute, but I'm feeling pretty good about these. We got confirmation that Andor season 2 will come back in August 2024. We knew it'd be 2024 August, so we're getting there. Acolyte sometime in 2024. Skeleton Crew series with Jude Law is also coming out end of this year, probably December-ish time, similar to how Book of Boba Fett came out, I would guess. And Ahsoka, a little bit earlier than expected. We got the trailer. Ahsoka coming in August. Very exciting. And of course, The Mandalorian has a few more episodes to go right now. So it's probably the clearest picture we've had of near-term Star Wars storytelling in quite some time. But again, the Lucasfilm caveats apply. We got to see them really commit to a direction and commit to creatives to have confidence in the plan coming to fruition. But the fact that they brought Daisy Ridley out there on stage, they announced a Mandalorian film, I would be quite shocked if those things don't happen. Did the James Mangold movies fall through? It's certainly good. But Mangold has worked with Lucasfilm just recently with Indy, as I said, so I'm feeling pretty good about that one happening too. So it's the best I felt in a while in terms of confidence in the future projects. So a lot of wait and see, of course. Time needs to pass for these things to get made. But I mean, how are you feeling about these announcements? Let me know. I would not be shocked if there's a lot of people saying like, "Oh, I would rather have watched Luke rebuild the Jedi Order, and that had been the sequel trilogy." Totally get it. I understand. You can read the books, the Legends books, go into all that. At least you have that. But hey, for what we got, I'm feeling decent about this. But let me know how you feeling about it. And for more Star Wars movie reviews, news reactions, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.